Thanks for joining us on a new episode of Run It Back. Today we are going to tackle 1999 film Any Given Sunday. And as always, I'm your boy Prime Source. Was good.
So over here making sure all my bodily motions for football references are still working. I got my ankle, head up. Still, you know.
You still got it?
I don't know, bro. I don't know. Got to call it quits. Yeah, I'm glad we were doing this joint this week. Obviously, it was a great idea that you had to do this joint right before football season. Well, as we are approaching football season, we are right here, right now, man. And this was the perfect movie. I forgot how much I really enjoyed like all of this movie until I just watched it again.
Yeah, man. It's. I hadn't watched it in a while. I kept saying I was gonna go back to it, and I would catch little bits and pieces, scanning through the TV. But I'd never. It's been some years since I've watched it, beginning to end, man. And I just tell you, it was a joy to rewatch it again. So it's a film that, of course, came out back in 1999, most noted by Oliver Stone, and it was a film, man, that I thought was really, really real. Like, we got to see a lot of things on and off the field and what goes on around football in general. So we got a lot of star power in this. We really can't name everybody, but you've got, of course, one of the GOATs, Pacino. We got Jamie Foxx. We got LL Cool J. We got Cameron Diaz. Dennis Quaid. Got at least mention Dennis Quaid. And the list goes on. And some of them we'll talk about through this pod, and we're probably not going to, people we forgot. You know what I'm saying? They had little cameos and brief shots in this, but a lot of star power in this movie, and I think for the most part, just about all of the characters were like, spot on, man.
Yeah, there was no slack. There was no slack, and there was no bad. No bad acting to me. I didn't think anybody was bad or out of place or didn't play their role well. Specifically, Cameron Diaz, she was on point in her role. Like, I kind of think her personality, just from watching it, I kind of think her personality is pretty strong, like her character. Maybe not that extreme, but pretty strong, like her character. So I think she played that well. And of course, Pacino. You would never, because the first couple times I ever watched this movie, you listen to it and you just hear Pacino just riffing and going in on the speeches and all that, but it is actually football related. I was thinking like he was just talking and then it was just worked out, but he had some football related stuff mixed in there. I was like surprised. I don't know how much he knows about football for real, but it caught me off guard when I look back at it.
Yeah, so it's crazy. So he's playing the role of Coach D'Amato. And when we talk about casting, we've already talked about he is undoubtedly one of the GOATs. You know how I feel about him.
Right.
But a lot of people don't know that one of the other GOATs was actually up for the role, of course, and that was a guy you see with him in a lot of movies, which was De Niro.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, De Niro was up for it. And then also a guy by the name of Henry Rollins. I know a lot of people don't know who Henry Rollins is. You've probably seen his face. He's a musician, actor, activist. He's been in a couple of shows and movies. I know he had a reoccurring role on Sons of Anarchy. But a lot of people, if you were to pull him up, you might catch his face. You may remember his face, or it also depends on how he has haircut too, because it looks a little different in some of the films. But yeah, that guy right there. He was actually up for the role in the movie, but ultimately it ended up in the hands of one Al Pacino. Also of note, and I know a lot of times we get to the casting later, but I thought it was super interesting. So we know Willie Beeman is played by Jamie Foxx, right? Do you know the other well-known actors who were actually up for the role before he got it?
No, this ought to be interesting, though.
Trip.
Let me think for a second. Okay, so not your favorite, not Wesley Snipes.
Nah. Nino.
Let me see. Who would be up for this role? Was Dwayne Martin up for the role?
We saw him in the movie briefly, but I never saw the day that he was up for the role.
That's the only reason I asked, just because he had, it was like, oh, he's an athlete anyway, so let's.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm just glad none of them got the role. I'm gonna tell you that.
Tell me who it is, because
all right, so I think we would agree that Jamie Foxx was off the chain in this. A1. So he was the choice, definitely. First person you're gonna trip was Diddy. So they're going for star power.
I knew that. I do not. Thank you for reminding me. I did know Diddy was up. I don't know if I remember him being up for this role. I knew he was supposed to be in the movie or was going to be in the movie.
Diddy was up for the role, and there was some rumors that he didn't get the role because some people involved in the film were convinced that he could make it look convincing throwing the football. But his people will say is that his touring schedule got in the way. And as they were adding more shows and more dates, and he was obtaining more acts, that got in the way that he bowed out. So it just depends on who you believe in that one. The next one would be radio, Cuba Gooding Jr. Cuba Gooding Jr. wanted the role. There were some people that suggested him. He really wanted the role, but they ultimately turned him down.
That's good. I'm glad that didn't happen. I mean, of course, he played. What was it? I forgot his name. And Show Me the Money. That ain't the name of the movie.
Right. With Tom Cruise.
That joint. Yeah. But that was him as a wide receiver, and it wasn't. This was football action for real.
Yeah.
So this was kind of different.
Yeah, and then last up, believe it or not, from your favorite movie and one of my favorite movies. Don't know how this would have carried over because the comical aspect. I don't know if we could have seen them any different.
No, bro. You better.
Yeah, Smokey almost ended up under center, bro.
Bro, this would have been a whole different movie. Thank you. I don't know. Thank you to the casting director, whoever did not hire any of those people for this role and went with Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, so basically, I think the casting was near perfect. And the last thing I really have right off top about the casting would be the one person in this movie that I was like, I can't see this dude playing no football player.
Bill Bellamy
knows how to be a player, all that himself. But for the parts that they gave him, especially as we saw later in the movie when he's hyping himself up that he's a good receiver and the best receiver in the world, I could live with it. It's okay, a little taller than I thought he was too.
It was fine. If he was better in it than I would have thought, and if I didn't know it was Bill Bellamy, I didn't think anything of it. The only part that got me is kind of what you mentioned when he's like, "I'm the best receiver in the world." Who put him to whisper like that? That was unnecessary. Did he have to do that? That felt low.
It might be his routine, though, man. Athletes have routines. And sometimes we don't find out about it later. I used to do this in the locker room. I used to do this. We find out about their routines sometimes later or from other sources. So I get it.
I'm good with what he said. I'm good with how he said it. I can't see anybody. That was going towards that diva mentality of receivers, as they say, that voice. I don't think that voice was necessary. I'm the best receiver.
And you talk about divas, that T.O. was on that squad, right? Even though he didn't really have a part, really. But T.O. was on the opposite side of him. So that's crazy.
T.O. said, just let me score touchdowns. And he scored a couple in the movie, actually.
Right. Yeah, so basically we got a film of, like we mentioned earlier, about the ins and outs of football on the field, off the field, on the sidelines, in the front office. And you mentioned Cameron Diaz playing was Christina Pagliacci, I believe the name was, thorough in this one. So she inherited the team from her father, who was the former owner of the team. And basically, she's trying to run things the way she wants to run them. She kind of thinks that she's about the new school. She kind of thinks that longtime family friend and football coach, you probably watched her grow up, his ways are kind of old school and behind him. So she thinks the game is kind of passed them by. So the struggle was crazy in this one. So we start off on that bad boy where Dennis Quaid's character, who is Cap, they call him Cap in there, Cap Rooney, Jack Cap Rooney. He gets hurt off top. Long-time franchise quarterback, won the championship. The Pantheon Cup is what they call it. and he gets. Then that hit was brutal. Like I don't want to say murder, but he got jacked up.
Yeah.
NFL blitz style.
That's what it was like. I liken the movie in general to the XFL. I'm sure you do too.
Oh, yeah.
The way it was put together and the colors and the action and the everything. It all seemed XFL-ish, but it felt like it was supposed to be on an NFL level, which was cool. As far as Cameron Diaz, I think part of her being a strong character or being the way she was as that character was the fact that she was a woman in that role of the president of the team or whatever she was of the team and having to deal with all those men. So it's like women going into corporate America back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and even before that, and having to be the one. So I gotta go extra. I gotta be up here with it and not take any BS in order to be respected by the men.
Easy on the eyes too. 7'8", she was right there. And what was crazy was to further, we talk about her strength and how she had to be. Later in the movie, we see her just walk straight into the locker room while there's nothing. Guys ain't got no clothes on, no nothing. She just walk in there and just like, hey, it is what it is. Hey, strong woman,
And it's my team.
Power. Yeah. So, but so this is what we found out early. So Cap gets jacked up. The second string quarterback gets jacked up almost immediately.
The next play.
Right, the very next play. So automatically, we come to find out, first of all, the offensive strategy is probably trash, and the offensive line is trash. I mean, they need work, basically. So in comes, they have to insert Willie Beamen. And what I noticed instantly about this was what was funny. So he's a third-string quarterback, but Diaz's character, even though she's running things, still don't know the full rundown on the guy. So, that she's asking like, I don't know when he come, doesn't even, usually in ownership, no matter what the power struggle or this, that, and the third. Well, we don't know that because maybe this really happens. After, when you get down to beyond the starters, maybe
third string, bro.
You might not know everybody. We got him win, type of deal. Yeah. So, but I kind of like that part.
Yeah, I can definitely see that being a real thing. I mean, even down to the coaches. I mean, they may know you, but that's why I feel like in that moment when Willie Beamen first walks up to go into the game, Pacino looks at him like he looks at him. He looks at him. He looks at him again like, wait, do I recognize this guy? Like, is it who is? Like he's trying to click in his brain and what he can or cannot do. So, or maybe he was just looking at him trying to see if he looked shook or if he.
No, I think it was the first one. Because the significance of this whole movie, when we talk about this struggle between old school and new school, we know that the old school, and we always say people are kind of set in their ways. So when they're set in your ways, you just used to looking at the same thing every day. Okay, I go to practice. I go do this. This is my main guy, my starter. I know him a lot. I work with him, and I might work a little bit with the guy behind him to get him ready, but this is what I'm used to. So he's really not paid a whole lot of attention to Willie. He has one mindset. Roll with the guy who got me.
That field ever. He really is not supposed to be on nobody's field according to that franchise.
Indeed. So, we see Willie comes in, he makes some mistakes or whatever, he's a little nervous, whatever, ultimately makes a few plays, but they lose the game anyway. But you see what he may be capable of if he just calm himself down, get himself together, whatever. But fast forward, and I'm going to tell you, first thing that pops up in my head is, remember when they at the house? So after he's played, he's at the house, he's on the phone with his mama. And then we see that his girl is Layla Rashawn, and the first thing I'm thinking about is Sunshine.
Sunshine. Like, bro, how you gonna end up breaking up with Sunshine, throwing her to the curb? Did you not see all them nights?
Like Jamie, like Willie, do you realize that she causing men to break up, with their wives, not coming home no more?
Yeah, I ain't coming home no more.
Put your mom on the phone.
Wow.
So it's like, and you think about it, that was the first thing that really popped in my head because the movies were 10 years apart. Hard to believe that Harlem Nights was made 10 years before this movie.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing I thought when I saw this. Yeah. Do you remember where you were when you first saw this movie? Did you just go? Was it like opening night, opening weekend? You know?
I don't know that I went to see this movie in the theater. I don't remember for sure. I feel like it was 1999, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know what month it was, but Kelsey was born in 1999 in June. So I'm pretty sure I did not go to this movie. I'm pretty sure I saw it.
Yeah, I think it was later in the year because I don't quite remember if it was opening weekend, but it had to have been close to just coming out because I actually remember going to see this movie on Christmas Eve.
Oh, yeah?
And I with a good friend of mine. And what I remember was that I was hesitant. Are we gonna go? We're not gonna go. Are we gonna go? Yo, are we not gonna go? And it got to the point at the last minute we decided to go. And we paid for it because the movie theater was packed. So packed that we had to sit up in the front. So I remember in the movie theater like this, looking at the screen, the first time I saw it, and I can probably promise you, and you know how much I go to the movies, that's probably the last time ever that I have really arrived at a movie late, you know, like with, you know, a new movie that's just coming out because I never want to do that again. So, you know, I'm always going to be there early when I'm going to a theater, whereas I can reserve my seats on my phone. So I ain't got to hurry.
Right.
Yeah, but I do remember that it was Christmas Eve. Yeah, I guess everybody had the same thoughts about going to the movies. The movie theater was packed. I remember that in 1999. So it was a little bit later in the year.
Gotcha.
Right. So, yeah. So Jim Brown, very interesting. We get a lot of flavor, a lot of classic moments, expressions, you know, phrases by him. But what got me in this movie was he was trying to hype up the defense. He's hyping up his defense and all that. And he's in and he's like, yo, we got a third string quarterback in here. You know what I'm saying? You got to do it because he ain't going to do you know what I'm saying? Like,
you already know what it is.
And you know everybody else can hear this, right? Like,
oh, yeah. In the room.
That's the beauty of it. You shouting and the offense can hear this. You talking to your defense, but everybody can hear it. One of the most memorable parts. Jim was gold in this joint, man.
Hey, he was great. All of his moments were solid. And plus, I mean, he's a good actor and he's a veteran actor as well. And the one part that got me, it wasn't. I mean, it was his character, but it was just odd. It was just odd because throughout the movie, he is the, you know, knock him down, get in there, do it all, you know, to especially to Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to the point where it's the doctor saying one thing, the coach is saying, you know, leaving it up to the player, and Lawrence wants to play, Lawrence's character anyway, wants to play sharp. Jim Brown seems like he's not with it, you know? So I guess that might be a more personal, it's because it's his, I guess, protege kind of, and being with him and thinking about his life after football. I don't know. I just thought it was kind of weird because most of the time.
No, I can see it because, you know, over the years from being around certain people in the coaching profession, even down to all the way down to even the high school level. I mean, even when it's not really about money, right? We see two different types of coaches. We see coaches that have a genuine, after no matter what goes on the field, how hard you ride them, you roll with them, might be in there behind, whatever. Some coaches have a general love or develop a personal bond with their players. And you know this because a lot of times when something, a coach passes away, a position coach, sometimes and we'll go back on TV or the internet and we see some of the coaches talking about them. You can see it in their face and their eyes, they generally break down. So there is a love. Now you have some coaches who really don't give a darn. Basically, my best player, these my players, whatever, I'm out to win. You know, when you get to the college and high school level, I just need this person, I have to get the money. And they don't get super personal. you know. But a lot of times those coaches that are those hard-nosed, the toughest coaches that you know, those are the ones that the players love. You know, at the end of the day, coach wrote me, you know, blah, 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 this, that, and the third, and I thank him. And, you know, especially when we see these people go to camp. How many times we done seen these stories?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know, forget the times you brother, you married, you sent me home, and, you know. So I can see. I think Jim was great. So they lose 4 in a row.
Right.
They lose 4 in a row. And they 4 years removed from their last championship, right? So it's just a lot going on here. The desperation to win and become a winning and a marketable franchise again. And makes me think of another classic Jim Brown in this movie when he's in there going off with other one of the players. He said, calm down, coach, you're going to have a stroke. And he was just like, he said, I don't get strokes, I give them. Got a lot to do, man.
Great line, great line.
Yeah. So what about the did you remember the bomb scene? Remember after they scored the touchdown?
Oh,
and the receiver throws the joint and everybody, boom.
Everybody, not just the people right in the circle. It's like a lineman here, 2 linemen back here. Everybody falls out. That joint was dope.
So a little bit later in the movie, we start to see the business and the ugly of things because we see, you know, Cameron Diaz's character actually in the room having a meeting. She's talking to the doctor, and she's talking to a doctor, and they're having a one-on-one, and in her interest as far as getting the team what she wants it to be and getting what she wants and making them marketable and getting the money that she wants and all that, she actually asked the doctor to basically slow down treatment on Cap because she sees what it could mean for the franchise if Willie stays the quarterback and stays quarterback. And because they've already said that there's a possibility that Cap could come back.
Right.
At a certain point or whatever. And she asked them not only to slow things down, but then she also ends up asking them to find a way to clear Sharp to play. And we know Sharp's going through some medical issues that could cost him his life. You know.
That was definitely those were definitely things that we can see have happened in the past. And you could say probably still happening today. But it's got to be on a lesser level. I just think because of film, audio, people that will just go to social media and say whatever. It's got to be less of that because every time you make one of those decisions, depending on who else is in the room, when it happened, Hamilton, you never know where that story is going to come from or which one of them is just waiting for the moment to kill your career and boost their own by putting this story out. So,
you know, not that this was a big part of the movie, but in a sense, it was. I like the way they portrayed her mother too, because in the movie, the mother can really care less about football.
Right.
You know, she's there. They've got money. She's lived her life. She's just going with the flow. We can tell when her husband was alive. Her husband, she was happy that he was running things, whatever. She was just the type of person who wanted to sit with her dog, have good conversation, you know, be around money, you know, have a nice day.
Be rich.
Live a night. I ain't mad at her. And you can tell outside of the fact that she was older, they didn't say anything, but there's probably some medical issues there as well. But, you know, she was just being mom. But you could tell she could still see, I guess, the goodness and the greatness in her daughter. You know, I think she could see that, but she didn't really get involved in it unless she really had a few words to say. So I kind of like her character.
And she wanted to see it definitely because, you know, it's her child. But even with that, she wanted her daughter to enjoy the moments more than, you know, make them about the business or stress herself out.
Indeed.
Because she was like, I'm enjoying the moment. I'm enjoying where we are and what we're doing. And you are going to kill yourself like your father did.
It's just boom. Indeed. The scene when Jamie goes to Coach's house, right? Where he brings in the flowers. And first of all, did you see the crib?
I don't remember the house. From the outside?
Well, no, just the inside, which what you could catch with the camera panning. I mean, he's a coach, professional teams, so I get it. But I mean, like the big glass windows, looking over the water, like the way he laid out. I mean, he was living. Nice little crib from a man, for coach.
Gotta have it. I mean, if Sharp had the I don't know, if Sharp had the crib that looked like that,
yeah,
his joint was crazy. So
yeah, his joint was lit.
The veteran, he had to get that joint cleaned up before his wife got home.
So they're going through the whole deal, and you see how old school Coach D'Amato is, because he starts telling, they're going to have dinner, and he starts telling Willie these stories. He's bringing up all these names of these old school quarterbacks, Unitas and Sammy Baugh and Wyatt Tittle. And he's telling this to Jamie, to Willie, hoping he would get something out of it, the things that he saw, the things that he learned. And pretty much, Willie just like, those people are ghosts to me. They just, I see this is us old school's a ghost. Things are different now. This is how I see it. I don't quite see things the same way. But I think he appreciated it. But, Willie at this point is still kind of up on his high. So
I did appreciate the fact that the way that scene went, and even scenes later, it wasn't like old school was the right way or newer was the right way. It was people had their perspective based on who they are and what they did, and it's the meshing of the two that comes later that actually allows for the potential greatness, I guess.
Indeed. And then we see what they get so later on they have another game out in the rain playing, and they lose. They lose.
Yeah.
Nasty. And then we get to the locker room, and there is a scuffle between Willie and Julian, which is LL Cool J's Kirk.
Scuffle between Jamie and LL. That's what the scuffle was between.
Well, we do find out later that they really did get into it on set. And depending on what you read or who you believe, that they both were kind of being kind of diva-ish. They both were trying to make it on the screen. But they say that LL knocked him out.
And I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that, because even when I think back to, I remember Rakim telling a story about slap boxing with LL.
Mm-hmm.
LL won the slap, but I think it was more like LL, I'm the man, and Rakim is the dude. So they just messing around. But I remember Rakim was like, LL swung at him hard one time, and
right.
I think he missed him, but he knew that it was more than slap boxing because he was going to the extreme trying to make a point. So I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah. And quick side note, if Rakim is telling this story, and nothing soft about Rakim, a lot of people don't realize that before his rap career, Rakim was actually like an all-city quarterback.
Yeah, and he said he was nice with the hands too.
Yeah, so
most people don't say that unless it's kind of true. Like nobody says that unless there's some validity to it.
Credibility is there. So, so there's a legendary talk about, which they both say they've since squashed and done other things now, but those two threw hands for a second. And Dennis Quaid tells an interesting story. He said he didn't see it, but he confirmed it happened. He said it had to have been less than a minute after he, I believe Jim Brown, were in the locker room just playing chess. And the match had just ended, and he said he was leaving to head home for the day. And he said that as he got out of the locker room, he said he hadn't made it quite all the way out. He heard a bunch of noise and a scuffle. And by the time he went back in, there it was broken up. Everybody was holding everybody back by then. So very interesting.
You mentioned Cap Rooney. I caught something. Well, it clicked in my brain that his wife, the scene where he's trying to tell his wife that he is done with this thing for real, and he can't do it no more.
Yeah.
It's like, nah, bro, you ain't done. I don't know if you're going to click in your brain this quickly, but name another character that reminds you of the man is saying, I'm done with this. And the woman is so enthralled in the life that She's like, no, that's not who I married.
The bad part about it, I feel like I should know. It's like it sounds familiar, but it's just not hitting me right now.
Tasha St. James and St. James, Tasha St.
Ghost.
Patrick and James St. Patrick. Yes, Ghost and Tasha. That was when I saw it. When I watched it most recently, I was like, "Yo, she is straight like Tasha. Like she is like, this is the life that I wanted, and I want you to be the quarterback. I want you to be."
Yeah.
It's like she wanted to be the quarterback forever. Like you're never gonna not be the quarterback.
So she like another 3-4 years. So what she said.
Yeah, right. And you're trying to get that man killed. And he's like, bruh, I'm out. We already got money. Like, what else do you want? No, I want to be the quarterback's wife. Basically, I want to be the star's wife. And Tasha was, I want to be the biggest drug dealer in New York's wife.
You sure Cap's wife on a coach away? Because she smacked fire out of him, bro.
Bruh. She had hands too. I guess she should have fought.
Yeah. Like, oh, God. Hey, okay. Like, okay.
It looked real. That don't look real.
Like she had, and then her whole demeanor, I'm like, yo, did she coach somebody herself? Like, what is this is crazy.
Yeah.
So later on, so they do their struggles ups and downs, they make it to the playoffs. So we get into the playoffs, and they're playing against the team the Knights. Who my first thought when I saw the team they were playing, it was some of the ugliest uniforms I ever seen in my life. The Knights,
right.
Like it was ridiculous. And you know who the running back was, right? You caught the running back. Well, you should know.
I mean, he played for the Eagles. Like it's Ricky Waters.
Ricky Waters was on the squad. So they get in the playoffs and they're playing these guys, and they're in the struggle. They have to kind of make a comeback. And but that scene when what I think about it, the scene when they get late in the game and it's crunch time, and Cap Rooney is sitting back there, and then all of a sudden he takes off and he runs with the football
before halftime. Yeah,
before halftime. To me, that symbolized a lot, because if you remember in that whole scene, so we had already team was starting to come back together a little bit anyway. They were starting to come back together. My man had already given one of all the speeches and the talks, whatever that my man gave. You know what I'm saying? My man, Coach D'Amato gave. This is probably he gave the best one. Like it really hit home. Team is starting to come together. But on that particular scene for the half, when Cap is running out there and he takes off, I saw a lot. I saw one in this thing, like, it's not just about what I want to be or I want to be remembered. It seems to me he learned a little something. He opened himself up. He learned a little something from watching Willie play when Willie was out there. Because though we didn't see much of Cap on the field, most times we just saw him either sitting back there to pass or just getting. We didn't see him try to use his legs. So for the old man to try to take off to score on that play, that really showed me how much they were really coming together.
Yeah, it was
a stronger way,
It was a lot, like you said. There's that. There's the fact that he took off, and like you said, he took that from Willie. But also, Willie was younger, and he's like, I'm not too old. I can do this too. Let me go ahead and take off. And to that fact, he, just like Willie jumped and got flipped. He jumped, but he got flipped a whole different, but like Willie landed on his feet pretty much.
Yeah.
So he got flipped. Cap landed on whatever he landed on, and then barely made it out alive, and that was the last play of his career. So he took off because of multiple reasons.
Yeah.
And also to prove, like you said, that he was putting himself out there for the team. That's what it was. He was putting himself
Indeed. Indeed. So they get in the locker room, of course, and of course, Coach D'Amato asked him, how are you? And he's like, well, I'm hurting, Coach, pretty much, but I can go. But we come to find out that even though he asked him that, he tells him he can go, Coach D'Amato's not putting him back in. Coach realizes, well, this is what I got to do. And yeah, I'm old school. This is my guy. I love this guy, whatever. But You know, I got to get with what's going on. I got to, you know, not so much admit that I'm wrong, but to an extent also admit that maybe there's other ways of looking at things. I mean, we got to comprehend this is the right thing to do. Get my pride, this is the right thing to do. So he walks over to Willie, tells Willie, you know, he pretty much tells him, he lets him know he's going in there. We see Cameron Diaz's character, she comes in, she storms into the locker room, you know, starts going off on Coach D'Amato, and the next thing you know, he grabs her by the arm. Let me go, and you know, and I was tripping off of that. I said, he's grabbing her by the arm. This, you can tell it's tense. This is probably somebody he's watched grow up when she was a little girl, you know. And then all of a sudden, you know, they get in there and they're going at it. And his pride, which was crazy though, it was still important to him that he had his pride. Like, regardless of what you say, this, that, the third, I'm gonna do things my way, so on and so forth. He never admits to her that he had already told Willie that he was going in. Yep. And everybody at the door listening. Willie walks in and I'm like, hold on, excuse me. Coach has already told me that I'm going in. And she looks at him, like, you know, and she's probably feeling a little small after that point. But, you know, by the same token, this is where it gets us. This is where it gets us. But Coach D'Amato still had that pride. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He didn't tell him.
He was not letting that thing go. Especially, you're not gonna come in here. First, you tried to strong arm me before and make me play him. Now you're gonna come in here at halftime and disrespect me at halftime during the game, in the locker room, in front of the players, and think I'm supposed to listen to you. He was like, nope, I don't care what you say. No, no, no. All right, I already did it. But no. As far as you know, no. I wonder what would have happened if Willie never came in. What happens? Do they just stay in there and argue for the rest of the time? I don't know. When they go back on the field, clearly Cap, what are you going to put Cap back out there for one play, watch him get hurt, and then who knows?
Very interesting. It's very interesting. So that leads us back to the field, second half of the game. And the big thing here was, you know, we were talking about Shark earlier and, you know, how his health was really at risk. And they'd already convinced him earlier that he not didn't play, because earlier we saw that he begged the coach to let him play, and they decided, you know, their heart got in the way. They let him, okay, you're going to play, but you're going to sign a waiver. You know, he's got 4 kids. He's got daughters. He's got a wife. We find out if he hits a certain mark, that he gets his $1 million bonus kicks in. So gets out on the field. They have a very, very crucial 4th and short play that could really have decided the game early. They have to get the stop. Of course, he ends up in on it, digs in, gets the team hype. When they unpile everything, he is still laying there. And blood on his face. And things are not looking good. So they bring out the paramedics and everybody, and all of a sudden, he has his eyes closed. And the second Coach D'Amato kind of looks away for a second, he opens his eyes. And the first thing, coach, can we make this stop? You know. And it's like, yeah, we made this stop. And that look on his face was priceless. You know what I'm saying? Priceless.
What you just said that he said, did we make the stop, speaks to his mentality as a linebacker.
Yeah.
I'm out there stressed out. And the first thing when I come back to is, did we make the stop? So his focus, even though the money was the mission in this particular moment, because he's trying to get that bonus, first thing he cared about was the game, the actual game. Because the tackle is the tackle. He's already made the tackle.
Yep.
But winning that game, or giving his team a chance to win that game, was the crucial thing to him. Until he heard that he didn't know he got that $1 million.
Yeah, when he tell him when they put him on the stretcher, but to take him out, he said, "Be careful with me." He said, "Because I'm worth $1 million." Yeah, so they get the stop, and then so they have a chance to win the game, and all through the game everybody was at odds with each other about the play calling. So the offensive coordinator they brought over to eventually succeed, Coach D'Amato, he would always have his ideas of what plays they should call. Coach was kind of old school. He had his plays that he wanted to call. We would see during the course, it caused some friction throughout the movie that a lot of times that Willie Beeman would change the play, and of course Julian didn't like that because he won't get in the rock the way he wanted to get his money.
But the OC only sometimes would the OC tell coach that the play was being changed. So he was taking credit for stuff that happened, even though he wasn't calling the play. It was Willie.
True indeed. So what was interesting, so they had, it gets down in the game, they have about 9 seconds left. So Willie goes over to the sidelines and they're talking. They have a good conversation. Willie calls a timeout, first of all.
Right.
He gets over there and they really don't even talk football. He hits him with something. What did he ask him about the food, right? When you came to my house, did you like the food?
Did you like was the dinner bad? It was the worst thing I ever had in my life.
That's why you think I'd be throwing up all the time.
That had to be
it was jambalaya, I think, or either
jambalaya.
Jambalaya.
That had to be off the cuff though, that scene, because
some of the best scenes are.
Pacino's smile was so genuine when Jamie said, that's why I keep throwing up, or why do you think I keep throwing up? His smile was so genuine. It just felt like it was just off the top, and he just said it, and they just went with it.
Yeah, and it was awesome. So the play that he calls he called it a 60 Comanche. So the play, evidently, it means that the quarterback, he's going to fake, and the quarterback's going to keep the ball. And he can head around the end, and if he has to, there's always going to be the running back telling him kind of like an option where he can pitch it, which happens on this play. They get a huge play. Ball is snapped. He takes off around the end after the fake, and then he runs for a minute until he's about to get hit, and he pitches it over to Julian, LL Cool J's there, and he gets more yards before he's out.
Two things. One, before he steps out of bounds on purpose, which was being unselfish in this moment after he's been selfish.
Selfish.
The rest of the movie.
Good.
And who running out the backfield, spinning around, 2 spin moves, a pitch, and then he runs further in 5 seconds. Ain't no way. It should have been 19 seconds on the clock when that play started.
Yeah. Yeah, and what I was tripping off of, I was like, well, they trying to say it was really enough time because they slowed it down a little bit. And I don't know, but I was thinking the same thing. I was like, they still got 4 seconds left?
Bro, it was a 5-second play. A 5-second play.
A lot of time in that.
Seconds from the pitch to him running up the sideline and getting out of bounds. But anyway, that's just nitpicking.
And then, so they still need to score. They go down and still need to score with the 4 seconds left. And so when they call the play. And what was interesting is throughout this whole series, especially then when they're talking about we're going to do this together. I mean, after all the strife and everything they're doing together, even him and LL, they cool, him and his character, him and Julian are cool. Let's do this. So, Jamie steps, he steps back, he looks, Willie looks. Next thing you know, he decides after everything is breaking down, everything that's there, I'm gone. So he takes off with it, goes high. First of all, it had to have been something we couldn't see. It looks like he started off high.
Right.
Somebody back or something. They have a stool over there that we couldn't see that was behind it.
Had to be.
And he goes in for the up and over. And what was interesting in this part is he's going up and over. That's when the defense is about to meet him. Is he has a quick flashback, or he sees a picture of a old school football player, another helmet, whatever, whole nine, going up and over. And this kind of flashbacks, how everything is coming together, and you think about the stories that Coach D'Amato was telling him back when, when he invited him to his house early in the movie. Very symbolic. Goes down. Of course, there's a mad, referees and everybody's running out. The fans are looking upstairs. Everybody, Miss Pagliacci, they all looking. And when everything is uncovered, matter of fact, you hear the announcer saying, I think he lost the ball, Everybody lost it. Come to find out he didn't. You see them schedule a touchdown. and they win the game. The Sharks win the game, right? Yeah. So it was very good scene, man. Very good scene.
Absolutely. I like to break down the slow-mo, the way they froze Willie's face on one side and brought Coach D onto the other side of the screen. That was dope. The whole joint was dope. Outside of the step ladder, in the field, the whole joint was dope. Outside of the 9-second to 4-second play, and then the step ladder, those two things, and in that moment, yeah, that whole last part of the movie was crazy.
Yeah, so they win the game. They end up winning the game. And one thing we didn't hit really quick, we were talking about Ms. Pagliacci, her character. She did have a conversation with her mother, and for a quick conversation, kind of letting her mother know that, maybe I've been kind of blinded, not really doing things quite right. I see what you're trying to tell me. They had a quick moment upstairs in the owner's box. Now she wanted to do things differently. She was starting to see some things. But so the game is over.
Well, that was only because she got the bad news from the commissioner. To me, that was only because she got the bad news.
Oh, about there was some investigation going on.
And then her whole world flipped, and it just clicked in the brain. I don't know if I bought that. I don't know if I bought her being more genuine and more relaxed, I guess.
Right.
At the end, but yeah.
Yeah, so then they shift up, they win the game. So they'll have another playoff game the next week. But there's a quick scene between Coach D'Amato and Willie Beam, and they're outside talking after the game on the field. Willie's already out there, just looking at the field, probably reliving some things in his head, and they have a conversation. You can tell they're closer than ever at this point. And Willie even makes a comment that he appreciate everything that he saw and learned from Cap, that he was going to go out the next week and win the game just for him. And so they have the whole conversation. And of course, we have to get one more Coach D'Amato story. So as they're walking off, and he tells them about a former quarterback that was very, very good. I was like lightning. It had, was just as good as Willie, but didn't have his particular skill set. And he bumped into him not too long ago, and they had drinks. And he said that the former quarterback told him that the thing he missed the most, realistically, I believe, was winning, together as a team. It wasn't the women and all the money and I guess the drinking and all that, but it was so much is seeing the team out there together, and doing it together and doing it for them to kind of implant something to the future in Willie's head. But we find out later, of course, they didn't win the game next week. Got smacked, I believe, with San Francisco.
32-13.
Yeah, so we're at the end of the final, the end of the season. We're at the press conference. And Ms. Pagliacci, she's up there and she's talking about the future of the team. Of course, we see the mayor's there. Clifton Davis. Start thinking about amen every time I say
amen.
Shine on. But yeah, so anyway. And pretty much they already know they're turning the reins over to the offensive coordinator. We know that. So I think in her mind, then we know that she knows that they've already come to the agreement that coach is still moving on, Coach D'Amato. They thank him. She tries to somewhat let her know that, I appreciate, regardless of everything, I appreciate what you did. Thank you. She's all happy because she's looking in a new direction. Looks like she's going to get probably the backing that she needs. And then coach comes up to speak, which is supposed to really just be his goodbye. Thank you. And he drops a bomb on after he gets talking, he lets him know right near the end of his speech, which really wasn't that long, that not only is he leaving, but he's taking over in the new expansion team in New Mexico.
Albuquerque Aztecs.
So they're already shocked by it. They're like, okay, this is what you're doing, okay?
Yeah, good.
They also gave him.
That's good for you. Yeah, they felt. Yeah. That's nice.
Right, that's I'm land on your feet. You doing your thing. I'm doing mine. He also let them know they gave him full control of the organization as far as player moves and development and signing.
Which is
And who does he announce with first person he's already signed?
already signed Willie Beeman. He stole him right under your nose. So Pagliacci's thinking, I've got the coach I wanted, young coach coming in. We got this young superstar quarterback. We good.
Yeah.
Good thing. Wait, the quarterback going with you. Oh, well, shoot. Punch, pow, take that.
It wasn't just her face, though. That was one thing. Did you see coach's face, the new coach? He was just like, he probably was salivating. Oh, man, like, I'm going to have, I'm already get stuff ready for next season. Willie start working his in and the whole 9 yards. And boom.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? So you got to get a whole new quarterback all together. I mean, most like what it's looking like. So, so crazy. So, and that pretty much ends the movie. Coach D'Amato walks off into the sunset. Well, they were indoors, but he walks off, like a pimp. You know what I'm saying?
And two things. One, we didn't mention the sports reporter Jack Rose.
Awesome.
Who was he reminiscent of? Oh man, Jr. Jim Rome. That's Jim Rome.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Love to see when your boy pushed him.
Did you get that?
Did you get that? Yeah.
And not until today did I know that the Any Given Sunday song, which was playing at the end of the movie, Jamie Foxx singing. Did you know? Have you ever heard that whole song?
Mm-hmm. It's been a while, but I'd heard it.
I had never heard that song. That song features Guru and Common.
Mm-hmm.
Who knew? I had no clue. I thought it was Any Given Sunday, Jamie Foxx singing, and that was the whole song. But no, that was a real song, and Guru and Common was on that song. Not saying it was, I'm just saying it happened.
All right, so real quick. Now, we talk all the time about just leaving stuff alone. I mean, it's way past the time now. Do you think they ended it right where it should have ended just with that movie? Or do you think they could have pulled it off of doing something, another movie with Pacino and his new franchise?
I could see that being a thing, but how movies like that.
We'd have the classic scene when they would play each other at some point, in the movie,
Yeah, but are they good? That's the thing. But one's an up and coming franchise just starting out, although they have a veteran coach. It's kind of who was it? Was it Carolina that made the playoffs out the gate, or was it Jacksonville? It was Jacksonville. Wasn't it with Mark Brunell? Made the playoffs pretty quick.
My boy called him, bring it home, Brunell. Yeah, it was Jacksonville.
Yeah, it was kind of like having the veteran coach and the new star quarterback in the new spot, kind of like that. So they were really just getting started, and the Sharks had to take a fall because they lost their veteran quarterback, they lost their young quarterback, and they got a rookie head coach. So who knows what level they would have been on for real.
May have been interesting. All right, so 1 to 5, it's time for the ratings. How many beers are you giving Any Given Sunday?
All right, so I don't know if a 5 will ever happen. And 4.5 is as close as I can get to 5 for real. So I'm going to go, I don't know, let's see. Beer, let's see, 12, 3. So I'm going to go 4.25. 4.25, because I love that movie. I did. I'm pushing 4.5, but I feel like there's something that's going to fall into that 4.5, and I'm not going to be able to push it to 5. So I can't put Any Given Sunday right there. But Any Given Sunday is a great movie to me, and it's pretty legit, pretty real. it was like Playmakers Come to Life, Playmakers from ESPN. So 4.25, which is a score that we've never given before.
I'm going 4.5 beers. Give me 4.5 on those. Look, it's not really too much bad I can say about this movie. It's just you have to be supremely excellent to get to 5. The things that I could pick are like the smallest things, like maybe something to the extent of the dude's eyeball coming out on the field. The eyeball didn't even look real. So, I mean, I have to pick at some small stuff. But yeah, I would probably roll with 4.5 beers. And I'm surprised after rewatching it here recently that it took me this long to sit and watch it again from front to back versus just taking pieces here and there. Because it seemed like every time I would go through TV and it'd be on, it'd be at right the same spot. And it's usually right when Willie making the video. I mean, it was Willie beaming. Like every time it seemed. So, but it was a joy to watch, and the strength and the performances were awesome. So I'm glad we got the cast that we got in this movie.
Yes, indeed. Shout out to my man, group member Chauncey Payne, who was going to join us for this episode. This would have been perfect. But he wasn't able to make it today, as we ended up having to reschedule things, and he was out of town. So we'll catch him on the next one because he is a movie buff as well.
Yeah, so, and shout out to all of you who support us and watch it. We've been wanting to do this movie for a long time. And to show you how much we love it, once again, we said we was going to do a 45-minute rundown on this movie. We hit about an hour. But we're doing what we love, and this movie deserved the hour that we gave it.
Indeed.
So it is what it is.
Loved it. 4.25, 4.5, great stuff. Oh, I guess we catch me at Smitty Source, Instagram and Twitter. And of course, if you're not in the group, join the Facebook group, Sports Ball Podcast, the SBP, where we talk sports, hip hop, TV, movies, and more.
And also, I'm your boy Prime. Catch me on Instagram and Twitter at PrimeSBK. And always remember, life is a game of inches, so it's football. So it is what it is.
For sure. I'm sure.